think we're live. All right, if we're not, we're not. What's up, everybody? Episode 3 of Peep Game TV. I'm here joined by this guy in the presence of a legend, Mr. Sean Kirst, the voice of Syracuse, former columnist for the Post-Standard, TED Talk speaker, family friend, amazing storyteller. And we're going to talk about, his background, his writing inspirations, and what he's up to since his life after the Post-Standard and things of that nature. What I wanted to get started with, I just watched your TED Talk.
All right.
About the great story about Billy Burke, firefighter that, put himself before others, which is the basis around a lot of your stories. And I just want to talk about the process of storytelling for you. Where do you find these stories? Where do you find the inspiration? Do you go out seeking a story, or do you kind of just live your life and let a story jump out you?
So why don't you just start out by asking me like the most complicated question at like the basis of my existence, man.
What is the meaning of the world?
I guess I'll minimize the question first. And by the way, this is a thrill to do it. And
thank you for doing it.
Whether these people know it or not, I've known you since you were little, and I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you.
So, but two things. I grew up around storytelling from my parents and my family. I had an older brother who died of a heart attack at 55, going hard, which is how he lived. Like, he was always fast moving and animated. He was a great storyteller. So I grew up with kind of that in the room. But I find, and I think I've realized this even more so in the last year, storytelling makes me whole. There's something about telling a story, and especially there is a thing that exists that I can't even define, but I think you understand it and you know it, that like when you tell a great story and you generate a sense of wonder, and people feel it, and it doesn't matter if it's written word, it doesn't matter if it's spoken word, it doesn't matter if it's music, it doesn't matter if it's rap, right? It's like you're going to go to that place, and when you strike that bell, you feel it.
There you go. From
All
the
right,
man.
done, man?
That's it. That'll wrap it up. Break down the difference between, standing in front of 1,000 people and speaking to them versus written, telling the story through print.
Written, and my colleagues in journalism at all points, whether it was in Syracuse or the folks working with me now in Buffalo, will attest to this. Written, you keep tinkering until the end, because what you can do with every word is always just sharp. And Aarick, I always put it this way, man, that like there's stories over here, and your listener or your reader is over there, and you're in the middle. And in a way, you're always trying to bend as low as you can so that story goes straight to them without coming through you. But that's impossible. Mm-hmm. It's got to go through you. So the whole art of it is getting that story through you to them in the most effective way. With speaking, I always look at it as like you're going off the top of a hill and you're going down on skis, and you can't go back. You've got to just go with what you're doing and go fast and go hard and go animated as we're doing now.
Right, exactly. There you go. You're a pro. You're a pro at this, man. I swear.
But with writing, I mean, I want it to pop, and I always want to minimize. I want to bring it down as low as I can bring it down to the least amount of words for the most amount of impact, and always trying to get back to that sense of wonder.
Man, so you talk about the different forms of storytelling, right? Now, I do rap.
Absolutely.
I dabble in the art of rap.
You're a gifted rapper, man.
I appreciate that. And you're not a stranger to rap. We've had conversations off air about a guy by the name of Tupac.
Oh man,
an amazing storyteller as yourself. Tell me what you know about Tupac, and go into about rap as a storytelling art form.
Well, I mean, if you don't mind me going off on a tangent,
go for it, please.
I was working at City Newspaper, alternative paper in Rochester in the early '80s, and I remember reading a story in the Times about a bunch of guys in the Bronx with turntables who were working on this new form, right? And I remember being intrigued at the time because they spoke of it as poetry matched to the rhythm of the street, and it had me at that point. I mean, from that article on, I always had to love the essence of what it is. But I was and really in the big picture still am uneducated. But when Tupac died, and I was working as a columnist, I had a colleague named Peter Ortiz. I hope he watches this. He's back in the city now. And he came to me and he said, "You got to write about this guy." And he said, "Whatever you think, whatever you've read, whatever you think you believe, no matter how enlightened you think you are, let me play you a couple of songs." And the one that he played that is always that blew my doors off and has always stayed with me is "Papa's Home," which was this
classic.
Oh my God! And Aarick, from that moment on, every time I'd drive down South Avenue and I'd see a kid listening and walking, and I'd be thinking he might be listening to that song, and that's beyond music,
right?
That's beyond rhythm. That's life,
right?
You know. So, but if I have a physical connection to rap, and I think this is something you'll appreciate, is that one of the reasons it was difficult for me to move out of the old Post-Standard building is it had an air conditioning system that was always going, and when I wrote, I was like, I was going to that system,
right.
and every paragraph becomes like a two rhythm and downbeat. It's like you're writing to a heartbeat, and if you write well, people won't necessarily feel that, but it's all cadence.
Exactly.
It's cadence, man.
It's
so right, rap is even greater cadence to me.
That's perfectly well put. So you touched on your work at the Post-Standard. We're coming up on a year this fall since you've moved on from the Post-Standard. We all miss you, man. I wish I was interviewing as you were going. I wish we could have intertwined and worked at the same time, but
that is a unbearably painful aspect of reality, man.
Still pains me to this day.
Man, especially with what's going on.
Yeah. So talk about what you've been up to since then in this past year. I know you've been speaking everywhere, doing commencement speeches. You'll be talking at the Hotel Syracuse Gala event later this summer. So touch on.
You got to go to that, by the way, man.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely get on that. Yeah, so people are wondering what's next and what have you been up to?
Well, I mean, I breathed for a couple of months, and then I've been working on contracts for the university and doing some interesting stuff, really. And then I've been contributing to the Buffalo News pretty frequently, and it's funny because I do it on my own time. And what's wild about it is that when you're doing it in that fashion, it comes. I shouldn't even say this, I guess, but it comes really like I wrote 3 last week, and it felt easy. It felt fast, so I've been doing a lot of that stuff, and that's really in some ways also allowed me to kind of remain feeling whole. I mean, that's been one of the experiences of leaving, is I realized that column writing is a craft that I've really lived since I was a child, and that in some ways, anything I do, it's like if I write a book, it's like a long column. I talked to my wife, it's a short one, man. You know?
That's one way to put it.
Trying to make that point. But often, you know, so, you know, it's all, but I mean, I really love, I've really figured out kind of what I love and what I need to do and sort of maybe what my purpose is. And, you know, what I do with that moving forward is, you know, we'll see.
Exactly. Well, you got a book coming out, man.
I got a book coming out in the fall. That's going to feel good.
What's that about?
It's a collection of 85 columns, and it took me all told about 3.5 years to put it together, because I figure I probably wrote 5,000 columns at the Post-Standard.
Right.
So I'm not going to absolutely say, I love every column in the book. I'm not going to absolutely say they're my 85 best or my 85 favorite or anything, because I'm not going to compare columns I wrote about people going through incredibly intense stuff. I worked on it with an editor, and I think, I hope it's emblematic of the body in my work.
Right.
You know, so I hope it can. But there's some cool stuff in there. You know, I mean, there's why Joe Biden has his connection to Syracuse, and how Jim Brown got the number 44, which is a story I love, and yeah, just a lot of interesting stuff.
I can't wait to read it. I'm sure there's plenty of stories. You know, you've told 1 million stories, and there's 1 million more to come.
I hope.
I know you're a busy man. I appreciate you joining us. I'll let you go. You know, tell more stories. My man, the legend Sean Kirst. That's it for Peep Game TV. See you next time.